Welcome to a Fat Profits Update. I'm Nicholas Forsyth and I'm joined by our mining analyst here, Dave Lennox. Dave, welcome. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Nick. I'm in excellent shape, thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about lithium versus vanadium. Now, investors out there watching this might have some lithium stocks in their portfolio, but not as many vanadium stocks. Now, the two actual things are not that dissimilar, as you'll find out today. Now, lithium, obviously a lot more pronounced. The Chinese are putting a lot of lithium-powered buses on the streets every week over there. Additionally to that, the likes of, the EU has said that by 2020, I think it is, that all new manufactured cars will be lithium-powered or electric cars. Now, Dave, step us through what's going on in that world and touch on the likes of lithium versus vanadium.
Look, certainly if you have a look at the lithium market and the vanadium market, we are in two distinct markets. The lithium market is well advanced in terms of the use of lithium inside the storage capacity of electricity. The vanadium market is not quite so. It's much more in its infantileness. So overall, one would have to suggest that we will see through the course of probably the coming years as the technology rises, we will start to see the advantages that we see in having a vanadium-powered battery compared to a lithium-powered battery starting to really come to the fore. And that may see a little bit of what we used to see once with the VHS beta war with the videos, where one technology stomped on the other and we saw betas die, and ultimately both VHS and beta died for discs. So we may see that happening in the vanadium lithium market. But at this point, because the markets are much more familiar with the use of lithium, we've seen that market really start to move ahead in terms of electric vehicles and also in terms of powering personal devices.
Okay, so you talk about one potential market overtaking the other. People out there probably have different ideas around time frames. Some people think in days, some people think in years, some people think in decades. What are you talking about when you say it might take some time to play out, just for the person out there thinking, how long are you talking?
Look, if you look at how entrenched lithium is, everyone obviously is quite aware that we've seen over the course of even just the last 12 months, a number of our major automotive manufacturers indicating that they will, in the next couple of years, actually have production lines that will produce electric vehicles on their own. So you can see that lithium is now very well entrenched. And also, you just look at your own personal devices that you've got on you. They're all powered generally by lithium batteries. So it is going to take a reasonable amount of time and probably a shift in costs around the lithium vanadium batteries to actually determine which of those particular types of delivery of energy will actually come to the fore.
And you'd probably think some of these big electric car manufacturers would have to sign a deal with a large vanadium miner of some sort, as opposed to the Teslas of the world. They've got actual relationships in place with some of the big lithium manufacturers, don't they?
Oh yes, look, at this stage there wouldn't be one single auto manufacturer that's got a off-take agreement with a vanadium supplier. If you actually have a look, if we go one step further back, vanadium is actually very fluent in the world in terms of the world's crust. I think it's 0.17 vanadium compared to 0.19 lithium. So in fact, if you had to explore for vanadium or lithium, you'd want to explore for vanadium because it's more prevalent in the Earth's crust. So that would tend to suggest that if you were wanting to consume vanadium or lithium, that you would be wanting to look for the commodity that has the biggest presence. And at the moment, in fact, we've gone the other way. The markets are well entrenched, as I've said, in actually using lithium, and there's less lithium in the world's crust than there is vanadium. So at some point in time, there's going to be a cost swing from looking for lithium and looking for vanadium purely because there's a prevalence of one to the other.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's compare and contrast the two. Now, you've just said that there's more vanadium around the globe than there is lithium. Now, Is one easier to extract than the other, or do you use similar techniques to extract both?
Primarily the techniques to extract both out of the Earth's crust are fairly similar in terms of you take them out as their raw commodity, and then they have to go through a process where they actually turn them into high quality lithium and high quality vanadium. It's very similar, the cost structures would be very similar, but because, as I said, the prevalence of one is greater than the other, the scarcity of supply would tend to ultimately start to see the price of perhaps lithium move higher as we use more and more of the commodity in our lives today than we are vanadium.
Okay, let's talk some other things. You've got a lithium battery, you've got a vanadium battery here. Now, charging these things, using these things, how do they differ? Is one more practical than the other?
One would have to say, if you're looking at the two in terms of their practicality, one would look at the vanadium battery, primarily for one real distinct reason. You can discharge and recharge a vanadium battery at the same time. With a lithium battery at the moment, you can discharge, but if you want to recharge it, you've got to stop the discharge process. So that does mean that a vanadium battery can be recharged at a much quicker time frame than you can lithium. The other factor is that lithium, when you are charging, because of the flow of electrons through into the battery itself, through the lithium, it does actually heat up. And we've had a number of cases where we've had
technology
phones,
blowing up.
Yes, phones,
car fires,
laptops, yes. That's the one thing that you won't see in terms of a vanadium battery. You don't see that heating exchange that occurs when there's a discharge and a recharge of a vanadium battery.
And a lithium battery has a limited life cycle. How long does a vanadium battery last for?
Look, if you have a look at the process at the moment as we know it, a lithium battery lasts for about what they would say 300 actions. That's 300 charges and discharges. A vanadium battery, because of the way in which the vanadium can be set up inside, let's say, a battery, it actually has an infinite life. It can actually last forever in terms of the process once it does get going. And that in due course would make the commercialisation of batteries far more cost effective under lithium, because you won't have to, over the course of 300 charges and discharges, to replace a vanadium battery, where you will have to, and you'd be aware of that in terms of your own personal devices, how often you have to replace a lithium battery.
Yeah, I think the iPhones go kaput on you every couple of months now. What I want to now talk about is stocks in the underlying portfolio that have exposure to these two separate commodities. Firstly, on the lithium front, I know that we had ORE, or we still have ORE in the portfolio. Now, that's been a long-term hold. Picked that up in 2010, 2011, well before this boom. It's been a good one, taken some profits as high as $4 or even higher. Now, step us through Oricobra, ORE, and whether we think it's a buy or what we're doing with that one.
If you look at Oricobra, yes, we did pick up the fact that it was in lithium, it was in brine lithium, which is a very cheap way of manufacturing lithium. We, at that point in time, liked the technology that we saw with Oricobra in terms of the extraction. Lithium batteries were, yes, in the market. They were in your personal devices, the little batteries that you see and you can carry around for your personal devices. So we were aware of the lithium market at that time. What we weren't seeing was the expansion into the motor vehicles, into the vehicle arena. And that's really now only happened over the course of the last, probably, let's say, 2 years. Once we saw that expansion happening, that then really took the lithium market by the collar, and we've seen quite a significant uplift in pricing and the use of lithium. Now, we caught that very well with Oricobra because we were in it at a very cheap price, because no one had heard of lithium to any great extent. We rode the lithium price bubble up, and of course Oricobra went with it, being a producer at the time. And we then, once we saw what we thought was a peak in pricing, we then sold off Oricobra, and we currently have it as a hold, just waiting until we see the dust settle and we see the commercialisation of lithium into the auto market. much more fully extended than it is at the moment.
Okay, another lithium play that we've got in the portfolio is Pioneer. I think you've currentently got a buy on that one. What are your thoughts on that one for the viewers out there?
Pioneer is in a much earlier stage in terms of its lithium development than Orocobre. It's not a producer, it's in fact in the exploration and development stage. It has Lake Mavis in Canada, which the company acquired. It is developing that particular project, and it has found significant lithium there. And we believe going forward that they will take that project through to commercialisation. Being, of course, in the North America region, it will have very good access into the North American market. So we'll be watching very closely there. It's an explorer. We've got Orocobre, which is a producer, and we've got Pioneer as an explorer. Excuse me. And that gives us, we think, the diversity that we need in terms of exposure to lithium.
Okay, fantastic. And on the vanadium front, one stock that springs to mind that has some vanadium exposure is King River Copper. What are our thoughts on that one?
Yes, King River Copper. We actually picked that one up even earlier than Orocobre. It had a vanadium project up in Western Australia that actually for a number of years it parked in its back pocket because nobody had really heard of or wanted vanadium. You would have been scratching your head as to what you'd do with it. But now that we've seen this move from lithium first into the battery world and vanadium perhaps now coming in behind it, we've seen a lot greater interest in the vanadium project that King River Copper has, and that's now lifted the value of that share price up. It's in a much earlier stage even than Pioneer with Lake Mavis. In terms of development, it will have some way to go before we do see that particular project coming to commercialisation. But being in vanadium, being perhaps in vanadium a lot earlier than we've seen a number of the other junior explorers, and having an understanding of the deposit and vanadium, then we will perhaps see that commercialisation occur a lot quicker than some of the other explorers in vanadium as well.
Fantastic. Other stock we got in the portfolio is Chalice, not historically a vanadium play. However, they have picked up some vanadium assets recently. What's our updated view on them for the viewers out there watching?
Certainly, yes. They've picked up two very small vanadium projects, and we do think that they're just putting their toe into the water, primarily because they've been a gold producer for some time. They've been a warehouse for projects as well, and we think that they're looking at vanadium as a long-term venture to gain value. At this point in time, you'd say, well, we haven't got any vanadium producers. We haven't, primarily because we still are waiting to see if that commercialisation of vanadium, as we've seen with lithium, especially now that it's in the auto market, if we see that commercialisation in vanadium starting to formulate and really gain some ground, we'll then be looking for perhaps projects that are nearer to commercialisation, and we'll be looking for vanadium producers. Okay,
so lithium looks strong at the moment. Vanadium could be the next best thing.
Look, it won't be a war to the death between lithium and vanadium, not like we saw with VHS and beta some years ago in the video world. It will be probably more a complementary. We do see lithium going down the auto road, and that's occurring. With vanadium, it's probably more going to go down the commercial storage road. That is, battery capacity that can run a whole factory, run a whole building. Lithium would have difficulty doing that. We do think that that's probably where we will start to see a distinction between where and what lithium's being used for, i.e. personal devices, running vehicles, and vanadium batteries, which will be running cities or certainly buildings.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for joining us, Dave. Thanks a lot for those insights.
Nick, thank you very much.
Now, investors out there watching that has appreciated these insights, has enjoyed them, and would like to know more about Fat Profits, it is the end of financial year here. We are offering substantial discounts on the service for people to come on board today. Now, the Fat Profits service, for people that don't know, incorporates a mining report which comes out every Wednesday, which Dave publishes himself, which has got a lot of the stocks that we've talked about today and more. It's got an equities report that comes out every Tuesday. Angus Geddes, our CEO, writes a daily report every day before the market comes out. We've also got things like the Friday Fat Wrap that comes out on the Friday afternoon, which sums out what happens that week. Now you can give us a call anytime to talk about stocks in the portfolio, and you get a username and a password where you can access the website and browse around, look at all the stuff that's on there, all the archive recommendation. Now give us a call. Tax season at the moment. If you're looking like you want to get a deduction of some sort, give us a call. We are offering quite substantial discounts. We'd love to welcome you on board to join a lot of our other members moving forward. Thanks for your time.